Before I stepped foot in Mecca, I thought I'd seen everything. I'd been to every luxury hotspot, every skyline, every private island you could imagine. But none of that prepares you for the first sight of the Kaaba. You can't explain it in pictures. You can't capture it on video. It's not just a building. It's the center of the world's heartbeat. Millions of people, different colors, languages, and backgrounds, all moving in the same direction. No VIP areas, no special privileges. Just you, God, and the truth. Walking in, I felt stripped of everything. The Bugatti, the suits, the watches, meaningless here. No one cares who you are. You wear the same white cloth as everyone else. You stand shoulder to shoulder with strangers, equal before God. For a man used to dominance, that's humbling. And then there's the energy. It's electric, but not in the way of a nightclub or a stadium. This is purity, unity. You feel centuries of history under your feet. You think about the prophets who walked here. You think about your own sins. And suddenly the life you lived before seems smaller than you ever realized. The first time I heard the Adhan echo through Mecca, it hit me harder than any fight I'd been in. It's not just a call to prayer, it's a call to reality. You're reminded that no matter who you are, what you own, or where you've been, you're here for one reason, to worship God. In that moment, all the noise in my head, the business deals, the social media, the critics just vanished. All that mattered was answering that call. I walked with thousands of others toward the mosque, and I realized this is true brotherhood. No contracts, no agendas, just faith. Tawaf, circling the Kaaba, is one of the most humbling things you can do. Imagine standing in a sea of millions, moving in perfect harmony, all focused on the same goal. You can't buy that unity. No marketing campaign, no motivational speech could ever recreate it. And while you're moving, you think about every step you've taken in life, the mistakes, the wins, the people you've hurt, the people you've helped. You bring it all here, lay it down, and walk away cleaner. People assume I'm a man who doesn't cry. I've been in fights. I've faced prison. I've faced death. But the first time I raised my hands in prayer at the Kaaba, I felt my eyes sting, not from weakness, but from clarity. I realized how small I was in the grand scheme. And here's the truth. Real strength isn't never showing emotion. Real strength is knowing when to drop your pride and stand exposed before your creator. The Zamzam water, it's not just water. You hear the stories, you read about it. But when you drink it there, fresh from the source, you feel something in your chest. It's like your body recognizes it. You feel alive in a different way. I thought about how millions before me had tasted the same water, prayed in the same place, stood under the same sky. That continuity, that unbroken chain of worship, makes you feel like you're part of something eternal. I met brothers from countries I'd never even thought about visiting. Some spoke my language, some didn't. But when we prayed, we spoke the same words, same rhythm, same movements. Islam has a way of erasing the fake borders the world tries to put up. I've been in high-level business meetings where people pretend to be united while secretly competing. Here the unity is real. Nobody's faking it. In Mecca, time works differently. You're not chasing schedules. You're not counting hours. You're moving with the prayer time. The whole city flows in that rhythm. It's the opposite of the Western grind, where everyone's burning themselves out for material gain. Here you remember that life's ultimate schedule is set by God. And when you live by that, you stop feeling like you're constantly behind. Leaving Mecca for Medina felt like stepping from intensity into peace. Mecca is powerful, overwhelming. It shakes you. Medina is calm. The air feels softer. The streets feel gentler. You realize why the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, made this city his home. You can breathe here in a way that makes your soul relax. Standing in the Prophet's mosque in Medina is like standing at the crossroads of history. You think about the courage it took to build this city into a base for faith that would spread across the world. And you feel the responsibility to carry that mission forward. It's not just a visit, it's a contract. You leave here knowing you've got work to do. In Medina, I noticed something about the people. There's a humility in their eyes. You can tell they understand the weight of where they live. They're not walking around like they're in a tourist spot. They're guardians of a legacy. And that rubs off on you. Every handshake, every smile, it feels like they're telling you, you're part of this now. Respect it. And when you feel that, you carry yourself differently. You're more aware of your words, your tone, even the way you walk. I visited Uhud, the battlefield where some of the earliest Muslims fought for their lives. Standing there, you can almost hear the clash of swords, the battle cries. And you realize these weren't superheroes. They were regular men who had faith so strong they'd face impossible odds for it. That puts modern complaints into perspective. We whine about traffic, about a slow Wi-Fi connection. They bled and died so we could hear the message today. One of the most surreal moments was praying in Rada, the area the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, described as a garden from the gardens of paradise. It's small, it's crowded, and yet the peace you feel there is unmatched. I could have stood there for hours, but you're reminded life moves on. Nothing lasts here. Even moments of paradise are temporary in this world. Medina teaches you patience. Lines are long, the crowds are massive, but nobody's pushing. Everyone's waiting their turn. That's a lesson a lot of us need. In the West, everyone's in a rush. In Islam, you learn that God's timing is perfect, and if you rush it, you might miss the blessing. I met a man in Medina who had saved his whole life just to come here once. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, but the glow on his face was something money can't buy. And it hit me, maybe wealth isn't about what you have in the bank. Maybe real wealth is the peace in your heart when you're right with God. Walking back from the mosque at night, the city lights of Medina have a different it's not the artificial glow of a place trying to impress you. It's the warm light of a place that's content with what it is. And when you see that, you start to ask yourself, am I chasing the wrong kind of light back home? There's a saying that Medina welcomes you if you come with a clean heart. I believe it. From the first step, I felt like the city was embracing me, not as Andrew Tate, the celebrity, but as a servant of God. And that's the most grounding thing in the world. By the time I'd spent a few days in Medina, I realized something. This journey wasn't about seeing new places. It was about becoming a new man. The cities, the mosques, the prayers, they're all tools. The real change happens inside, and that change doesn't fade when you board a flight home, unless you let it. I had this moment, sitting alone in the courtyard of the Prophet's Mosque, where I realized how quiet my mind had become. Back in the West, your brain is constantly under attack. Notifications, emails, fake drama, endless noise. Here, the only notification is the call to prayer. It strips away the static. And when your mind is clear, you start hearing your own soul again. That's a sound most men don't even know exists anymore. I thought about my life before Islam. The women, the money, the parties. And I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed those things, but they never gave me peace. It was like drinking salt water. You keep going thinking it will quench you, but it only makes you thirstier. This trip, these cities, they gave me something pure, something that actually satisfies the thirst. One day, after Fajr prayer, I stayed behind and just watched people leaving the mosque. Old men, young boys, businessmen, laborers, all walking together. There's no segregation by status. And I thought, this is the world as it should be. No false hierarchies. Just men and women judged by their faith and actions. I visited Kaaba Mosque, the first mosque in Islam. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, personally laid its foundation. Standing there, you feel the raw beginning of a movement that changed the planet. It reminds you that big revolutions start small, with sincere intention and relentless action. The hospitality in Medina is unreal. People will hand you food, dates, tea, not because they want something from you, but because giving is part of their nature. Back in the business world, every gesture is calculated. Here, generosity is instinctive, and that's why it feels so powerful. I took a moment to just sit in the shade near the mosque and watch children play. In their laughter, you see the future of the faith. And it hits you what you teach now, how you live now.